purpose of these interactions with the
Right.
students. So not kind of repeating it. And for the students, let me introduce Prachi, Jain. Prachi was the second batch of students and perhaps the only student in the last 18 years of my career who forced me to do, not do actually, I won't be so bad, so mean, but I had to sit through her long equations, that she used to do on golden ratio with Professor Prashant Kumar, if I'm not wrong. And but yeah, I mean, very few students that I have seen were so dedicated in terms of their work, and Prachi was one such example. I'm talking about my thesis students actually. वो करते हैं वो thesis हो जाएगा types, but Prachi was like a very focused student right from the end of the first semester. At that time, we used to have our thesis credit starting at the second semester itself. So first semester they used to be just coursework, and then third semester onwards the thesis credits used to start. And yeah, so after completing her master's program in design, Prachi worked in Infosys, if I'm not wrong, for a long period of time. And she started as a designer, then went on to the lead roles there. And then now she's moved into Philips. And yeah, so I would request you now to share your experiences and also advise the students, your juniors, how they should prepare themselves.
Sure, thank you. My pleasure. So let me just start sharing with my screen. So a lot of screens I created introducing myself, and I tried that I could share my learning at each stage of my career as designer. So hello everyone. I'm very happy to interact with you all today on Zoom link, and I wish to continue having these dialogues going forward as well. So a little bit about me. I am a DP alumnus from Y3 batch. I joined in 2003. I did bachelor's in architecture from GCA Lucknow. I also did Kathak course from Bhatkhande. I'm also an IDOU alumnus where I did advanced design thinking certification. Like Sir said, I worked in Infosys for a very, very long time, about 11 years. And from UX designer, I grew as senior UX architect there. And then I joined Honeywell, worked in Honeywell for 2 years as experience lead on IoT solutions. And then I joined Philips as associate design director. And these are some of my beliefs. I feel that teaching is a great way of learning. And I feel that, I could reach to IITK. I was a very average student, I would say, but because I was so passionate about teaching, I used to teach my classmates in exams. So I used to revise that way. And I revised so well that I got a very good gate score through which I could get into IIT. So teaching to me is a great way of learning. And I also believe that I can serve my nation by helping people do their best in my company or in my college or anywhere. If I could help people do their best, they will certainly, will be very good for my nation, and that is what I feel. My role model is Thomas Edison because he thinks that he has not failed 9,999 times, but he has learned these many ways when it will not work. So his approach looking towards failure is what motivates me a lot. And some of my favorite quotes: the best way to have a good idea is to have a lot of ideas. So to me, brainstorming in a very different ways, we can do that to generate many ideas. so that we can maybe club some, or we can piggyback, or we can have like a lot of ideas to choose from. And the other one, simplicity. So for me, my mantra is less is more. So when I design some screens, I come back again to my screens and I feel what is extra and I remove that. And I think anything which is not adding much value should not be used to make it simplified. So these are some of the things which I follow in my life. Bit about my journey, design journey. So, like I said, I started my design career as from Government College of Architecture, Lucknow, in 1998. And what I learned from there was a lot about design. We studied in depth about the elements of design, the principles of design, theory, history of design, form, space, order, color, texture, material, and an attitude. So I developed an attitude that whatever design I do, uh, anybody should be able to say that this is done by Prachi. It should have a style which speaks about me. So that kind of attitude I developed when I was a designer in architecture. And like I said, I used to love teaching my classmate who are showing in the right side in the image. This is me, and this is Paridhi. She was my classmate in IIT also. So this is my batch, and we were a very close group, and I loved teaching them. And I think because of that, I could score 23 All India rank in GATE. My next step was design program, and this is me, and this is when we launched our logo. So what I learned in DP was I worked on a lot of projects. So Amit Ray sir, uh, Prashant sir, Satyaki sir, Satupa ma'am. There was a lot of what we did there. Experimented on a lot of things, whether it is electronics or a product or forms or materials or whatnot. I mean, we just wanted to do, and the resources were available to us. We also got great exposure. We had a program where we used to invite the professors and the industry experts to share their experiences. We had Professor Werner Roth from Stanford. We had people from Elephant Design from IIT Bombay, from IIT Guwahati. We had a lot of big shots from industry, and they shared their learnings, how what is their approach of dealing with a problem. And it was really really very very nice. We learned a lot from those topics. I also built confidence. So, I could stop at architecture level, but I was not confident that, I'm good enough. My learning is good enough. But this is what I learned when I was in IIT. I got that confidence that I can do anything and everything. I made a lot of friends in DP, outside DP. It was the best time ever. I have some of the best memories from design program. And also, my attitude which I developed in as an architect, it was bursted. So once I was having discussion with my friends and some of the professors, we went for tea, and then we were discussing about the architecture of IIT Kanpur. And I just love exposed brickwork, and I was saying, wow, it's such a beautiful place. It's the best place in the world. And then Prashant sir said, I feel it's not comfortable. I'm not comfortable here. It's very scary to me. It feels like a scary thing to me when I pass through the buildings in the night. It gives me a chill. He talked about the ergonomics of the buildings and all that. And then I realized that it is very important to design for the people for whom we are designing, right? We are not designing for ourselves. Somebody else is going to use our solution, and if they are not comfortable, then it's a waste of effort. So what maybe some critic may appreciate it, but if your users are not happy, then it's of no use. So that is where I got the first lesson about usability and user experience design. So that was again a very important step in my journey as a UX designer. Uh, so then I joined Infosys. I wanted to, learn more about usability and user experience design. So I thought that, why not I join a company where I could get to work on these kind of solutions, and maybe, then I can do something else. It was not that, I'm supposed to be UX designer alone. I can do anything. But then I just loved this domain, that I stick to it. And what I learned in Infosys was a lot. I learned the design processes and the methods. We did not learn UX in depth there, but my managers were really nice. They had such expert knowledge about UX domain. They gave me a lot of challenging projects, and they mentored me well. And I learned a lot from them, and also from the project managers who used to motivate me. I really had some great project managers to work with, and my team managers also, they were very good. I also tried a lot of tools in the sense softwares. Also, I acquired the mindset. It is very important, for us to have the right mindset. And how I acquired the mindset, by working in different projects. So you know that Infosys is a service company, and we being a small group, we used to get projects from all different verticals, and we used to get projects for all different type of user personas. So I designed solutions starting from CEO of some company to a taxi driver also. So I could, while working on those projects, I could understand what are their goals, what are their needs, what exactly will work for them. And that is how I learned that people at different level, what are their expectations, what will sell, and how to sell it. So gradually, I could piggyback some of the ideas from other projects, their mindsets, their whatever. I had a discussion with the users, and I used to apply it in my other projects. So that way, it was a very enriching experience in Infosys. I got to do a lot of research. So one of my project was on convergence application, and this was early in, like, almost you can say 2008ish when I was doing this project, and it's something similar to Google Material Design now. So instead of having like it on mobile, tablet, and desktop, it was on television, desktop, and mobile, because iPad was not existing at that time. So what you see here in the screen is a solution which is for television. So when you are watching uh, television, what kind of interactions you would do, and my role was to design the guidelines itself. I set up a lab. I used to do a lot of user testing, and it was a very long project. I worked almost for a year in this project, and I really had a lot of learning from this project. I also got to manage teams, design teams. I mentored the teams. I gave them a lot of, like, I said, I love teaching. I used to share a lot of my learnings with my teammates. And so that was a very good learning, mentoring people, coaching in their projects. So whenever new joinees would come, I would team up with them, and help them in their meetings, in their proposals, in their communications. And slowly, my role was to make them independent and move out of that project. So that worked very well. I also got a lot of travel opportunities overseas. So I worked long term and short term in US and in Middle East. I was very actively participating in pre-sales. So from the UX side, how do you pitch for a project? What will sell, what will not sell, how much we should sell. We should not like completely give away our design solution, so that they will not come back to us, or we have to give enough so that they understand our capability and our our creativity. So in pre-sales, while working in pre-sales, I worked with directly clients there. I presented to them, and how it works, how do you get the projects. It was again a very nice experience. Cross-domain experience I already talked about, and I bagged some awards as well um, when I was in Infosys. Um, the next company, so after Infosys, and also why Infosys is very close to my heart. It's not just my first company, but I got married when I was in Infosys. I had my child when I was in Infosys, and I had my own share of challenges when I was in Infosys, because after I became a mother, I wanted to spend more time with my son, and I was not able to give as much to my projects. My son would fall sick, abruptly, and then I have to sit with him. And with client projects, you cannot do that. So my managers were very cooperative. They understood my needs, and they gave me enough space and the kind of projects which I could do during those times when I was not very committed in terms of like my first priority was my child. When I got married, my husband was based in Delhi, and they gave me extensive work from home at that time, so that I don't have to quit Infosys. So that way, Infosys was was a place where I could balance both my professional and my personal commitments. Then I was once I was kind of free. I was still not ready to travel, but I wanted to do creative work. So I teamed up with the IoT team in Infosys, and they were working on a lot of POCs. However, it was not very matured, and there one of my friend recommend me to join Honeywell if I really want to work on IoT. And I applied, and I got through it. So I joined Honeywell in 2017, and then it was completely different environment in Honeywell. Honeywell is a product company, and unlike Infosys, where you will have the budget crunch, or you will have like limited time spent to work on a project. Honeywell was like, you have time, you have budget, and you have to do really great job and very detailed job. So the environment was very different, which I just loved. I started with a project which was an internal project, but Honeywell was trying to explore a new space where energy researchers, like they do a lot of research on the usage of energy, and then they come up with some formulas so that the large buildings like Burj Khalifa and all, they can save enormous amount on energy consumption. So they can save energy, they can save money. And this was a huge space, but onboarding a site which Honeywell has not put, I mean, they have not structured it, then it is very difficult to onboard somebody else's site. And then we wanted to create a solution which could onboard the site very quickly, and you have to be confident that the site is onboarded in a right fashion. So there were scientists who were developing this technology using machine learning, and a lot of other technologies, and I worked with them. Very nice. Again, we had a lot of brainstorming session that how do we make this front end, which could very easily tell them that what is the confidence level of this onboarding, and then if it is not so confident, they can check very easily that where are the loopholes, and they can just go and check that part. So basically what we achieve using that project, we the thing which used to take, let's say, 4 weeks of a person's time, it started it come down to 2 hours. So it was very good. And again, I got a project award for this. Then I worked on smart home solution. It was for the owners of a home. And I created, basically it's a modernization of the existing solution, uh, which was only for iOS solutions, skeuomorphic thema. So how to make it more trendy. We added a lot of features. We made Android solution, responsive solution. So there was a lot of work done. And we could create a application which had the best app store rating in the space. So that was really nice. I applied for a patent for this, some of the solutions which I created as part of this project, but unfortunately, we had to release it early and we could not complete the patent process, so could not get it. Another project was for the people who are installing sensors in the homes to make it smart home. So that was about that how people will go and onboard the site at the homes. So these were the three projects which I worked, and during that time I was very active participating in the conferences. I got an opportunity to talk in UX India. I talked about smart cities, their needs, and also in many other platforms. So again, very good experience in Honeywell. And when I was in Honeywell, I got an opportunity to work as associate design director. I applied in Philips and I went through. And this is my team here. This is me. And it's a healthcare domain. We are designing solution for diagnostic imaging. My role here is to do team management, project management, stakeholder management, design strategy, process management, quality management, and a bit of design also I do here. So I joined in 2019 and currently I'm working here. So this was my design journey, and I would like to share a little bit about my learning over a period of time. I just thought that it will be helpful for you guys also. So, what are the different UX areas where we designers work? So, I thought I'll create a list from my perspective, the things which I most frequently do. So, starting from design strategy and what all goes in design strategy, we try to address what are the usability goals from this project, what are the marketing goals. So marketing goals would be that how much profit they want to make, or who are the other competitors, how we want to differentiate ourselves, something like that. Development goals would be that what kind of technology they are using, what challenges they have. Then a design approach. So the approach would vary based on the project to project. It is in nutshell, we do discovery, we do design, then we define and we test. But you know it's very different when we talk about the methods and tools that we use. So how we are going to address to a project that goes into the design approach, how we will be working, so our ways of working, that means what kind of interaction we will have the other team members, like development team, marketing, usability, what are the frequency of usability testing, how we will be documenting, in which format, how it will be delivered to the development team for making. I'm talking in terms of the software because I work in software, but 70-80% it will apply to products as well. And also it's very important to strategize that how you are going to measure your success. So once you have released the product, you should know that what are those factors against which you will validate whether you are successful in delivering what was expected or not. So these are the few things which we draft as part of design strategy. And once we are done with design strategy, we get into user research that, okay, this is high level what we want to do, but exactly what users want. And some of the methods of research, you might be aware of it. I'll just quickly run you through and you can ask questions regarding this if you have in the questionnaire time. So we do in-depth interviews. We do contextual inquiry where we give them a flow or to perform, and then we try to see that how they're performing. Or in current scenario, sometimes it's a new solution, then you would see that at least this task, how they are trying to do. Maybe they are not using a software, then how they are doing. Ethnography, their personas, the survey, observations we do laddering techniques for getting into their emotional level, that what they want. And we create personas, user journeys, task flows as a output of user research. Then very important to empathize with the users, and these are some of the things which we observe to understand user behavior. So what are the user needs, goals, wants, what motivates them to do this, what are their emotions right now, how is their mental model, how do they make decisions. So all this is very important for us to design, conceptualize. Then once we understand what the user needs are, and we have generalized the users as personas, and we have generalized their flows as user journey, because it might be different user by user. So we generalize to create a solution. And then we get into the concept design. So how do we do problem solving? We get into brainstorming sessions. Again, we want to generate a lot of ideas. So brainstorming again can be tweaked. So we do terrible idea brainstorming, we do mashups and all that uh, during brainstorming, so that we get a lot of ideas. And then we finalize one idea maybe by clubbing some ideas, and then we get into the concept design. Once the concept design is done, we get into the low fidelity wireframes. We sometimes test at low fidelity wireframes level. Low fidelity is very blocked, it doesn't have content, doesn't have visuals, it has more or less the flows, interactions, and layouts. And then we get into the high fidelity wireframes. Also, what I have observed while working in Honeywell and in Philips, we try to design each and every screen for the developers so that they are sure what needs to be done. So we do very detailed user flows and each and every screen in that. So that is what my take is, because instead of leaving it to the developers to think about it and later on asking them to change, it's better that you give them firsthand, and it doesn't take much. If you have already designed the key screens, uh, creating the other screens is much easier. We also do prototyping to test, and also it also give us the I mean, we can visualize, but other people may not. So when we do prototyping, they can see how it is navigating, how the solution is interacting. And we do pattern libraries, and so that the development team can take it up, and it is easy for the users also to memorize if we have patterns created for the project. And then we give the visual guidelines. So it starts from the branding guidelines, what color palette we should use, what kind of fonts, what grid. Grid is basically which device they are going to use, or it's only desktop, or it's some embedded device, or it's a mobile application. So what application it is. So based on that, the grid we decide. If it is a product, we look into the texture. So let's say you are designing an MRI machine, and user is going to lie down on the couch, so how comfortable it should be. You will have a lot of ergonomics related stuff there to consider, and also the material, it should not be very cold, it should not be very rough. So all that you will think about. It should be perception wise also comfortable. Then when I come back to software, we do a lot of animations and interaction patterns. So that also we document layout and templates. So normally, in a project, we will have some 4 or 5 different layouts, which will be repetitive. So we just capture them so that, when we are working on some other screens, we can look back and reuse. Content. Now we have thought about the concepts, everything. Now content. We content, basically what content is going on the page, right? So one is that high level information architecture, but the other one is that the layouts and the page level information architecture. uh, so the things to look there is searchability, whether I'm able to find the desired thing easily. Relevance, whether it is relevant to the user or not. Like I said, less is more. Look at the relevance. If something is not relevant for the user, just remove it. Accessibility, I'm not talking here about the visual or physical accessibility challenges alone. That is important as well, but accessibility of the information. So we ask people how frequently you do this task. Some of the tasks they would do every day, or maybe twice or thrice a day. So we will put it up front on the homepage. But some things which they will do rarely, it's okay to, to let them dig a little bit. So that is also very important, that things which are very frequently used or critical, how do we handle it? How do we make it, uh, so that they do not end up doing mistakes? So all that goes into designing. And then we do usability testing. There are a lot of methods that we do. But roughly, I would say that not only with users, but we start with expert reviews. Experts could be your subject matter experts, and sometimes they are actually the users also. We also do heuristic evaluation within the team. So the person who is designing, other people would evaluate, give them feedback based on heuristic principles. User testing, of course, and we also look at the SUS score. SUS score is basically tells you that how usable is the application based on the usability testing. So we can understand from the user testing inputs that how is the usability of the solution. But when development team or the marketing team, they are not familiarized with these processes, so they would look at the SUS score. And how is the SUS score? I mean, normally we target for 85 to 90 SUS score out of 100. So that is some of the jargon, some of the things which you would encounter when you are working on a software user experience design. And then this is what you do, but how you do it is very important as well. You have to align yourself with the development team. Development teams normally work in Agile in most of the companies. And in Agile, they take a small piece of work, they develop it, and then they deliver it and they test it. And the concepts, some of the important concepts in Agile are that you start with the customers. So everybody would like to understand how the customers are, who are the customers, what are their needs, and collaborate early and often, not only with customers but within the team, so that I am designing something which is not, they cannot build it, will take a lot of time, or marketing things that they cannot sell it, or it's not going with the design strategy, we fail fast, right? So that is where collaboration early and often is very important as part of Agile methodology. Plan for uncertainty. So the market is really volatile. Things change, technology change, user needs change, user expectations change very fast. So we plan only for 3 months and we call it PI. And then we plan for next PI. Maybe, within the PI, whatever we have planned, we divide into sprints and we can change the scope of the sprints again based on what kind of inputs we are getting from the users or how the market is changing. So it really depends on the market to market. In healthcare, it is not as volatile. There are a lot of rules, FDA rules, and other countries' healthcare rules, which we have to follow. And we have to do a lot of testing before we release. So we cannot release like every sprint. But in Honeywell, we used to release every sprint and we used to get feedback in terms of like how the users are using it. So that data we used to get and we used to change our design accordingly. Then next thing which you will listen very frequently when you are working, lean UX. So lean UX and design thinking and design sprint, these are design related things. Lean UX is again, they are saying that I'm taking a small piece of work and I'm, completing it. I'm ideating, I'm testing, and I'm iterating on it and then releasing it again. So that is what is lean. It also says that you cross-functional team should be there so that we get a lot of different perspective. It says that you should have a small team, dedicated team, co-located team, so not work from home. It should be in the office. Self-sufficient and empowered. So normally they say that we don't need a manager. We will manage ourselves. So that is what the lean philosophy is. And problem-focused team. Now, the problem with lean UX here is it's okay. I mean, in context, you can adapt to some of the lean principles, but when you are working on a very large project where one module is depending heavily on the other module, and if you change slightly, may change the other module drastically. So it's like a system thinking that we have to do, especially in the project which I'm doing right now. So it's a bit of challenge, but we have to align to agile teams as well. So we definitely do lean UX design. We work very closely with the development and the marketing team in our brainstorming. We are having another constraint that we have to test, right? So our researchers are normally not in India because the market for which we are targeting is not India. So that kind of challenges we will surely have. Design thinking. We, I think, know a lot. It's been, very, very famous. And it has 5 stages. Empathize. You first empathize with the user, then you define the problem, then you ideate, prototype, test, and then go back. You have a better empathy now. You can better define the problem now. You can ideate in a more plausible ways and on. But it also talks about desirable, feasible, and viable solution. What is desirable is desired by the user. I want a gold watch. Feasible. Is it feasible to buy? Maybe yes, I can spend a couple of lakhs to buy, let's say, a gold watch. But is it viable? It's not safe. People can just snatch it. So from the industry perspective, we want to make desirable solution, but development should be able to make it, and it should be sellable also. So that is where the companies will come forward and create a solution, right? So it has to be, that is one of the mantras from design thinking. Human centered, collaborative, optimistic, experimental. That's everywhere. Design sprint. Design sprint is design thinking in a time constraint manner. So, in nutshell, what I'm just trying to say here, if you have seen the pattern emerging, these 4 things are having very common principles as a as a starting point. However, they might change in their approach, and depending on where you are working and in the projects itself, you might sometimes do design sprints to quickly ideate on something, prototype, test, and be ready for some presentation or something. You may do extensive design thinking in your project, that let's take a feature, let's do 3 or 4 days of ideation, and then do the prototype. It goes on for, let's say, a month kind of thing. So when we have a PI and we have certain features which are quite unique and we need to explore the solution, one PI before we start doing design thinking workshops. And the good part in Philips is that we have, the experts are the users itself. So we get users in our team. So then we do design thinking, more or less to align with Agile. We get into the lean UX, some of the lean UX principles, but in a nutshell, you have to decide when you are doing a project what works best for your project. So this is where working experience helps us, because we have failed already many times in our approach, and that is how we have learned. So it gives us that hunch that what will work, and we keep changing our approach. So it's not necessary that you have to get into one approach, but you should definitely look into, these are the most trendiest one right now in industry. It works well with both software and hardware as well. um, then the mindset. So when I am interacting with the other designers, or when I was starting my career itself, some of the challenges that I feel we have and what we should learn quickly. First of all, we are designers and we are not the users. Sometimes we are so proud of our design that we just don't want to deviate. We have not tested, we have not done any research, maybe we do not have budget for it. But then you should understand that you are a designer and you are not a user, so you have high probability that you are doing something which may not be user friendly. Second thing, very important, user experience is not limited to screens. We do the wireframes, we do the visual design, very nice ones, and leave it there. No, user experience is when the user is actually using the product or the solution. What is the response time of the screen, how the messaging appears, you know, the entire workflow, how the user is, what is the user experience when he is actually using your solution. You should look from that perspective and not just limit yourself to the screens. You should demand for it, that if you really want a good user experience, you allow me to go into the testing. Let me see how the users are performing, or so that I have the inputs to improve upon it. You have different strategies to handle the messaging. If it takes 10 seconds, 15 seconds, or let's say 30 seconds, or 1 minute, or maybe sometimes 10 minutes. So it depends on like what activity you're doing, and then your messaging strategy would change completely. The third thing, I feel that we do not like criticism. We are very good designers, and the other person is not able to understand, and he's trying to criticize me. A lot of time, 90% of my team, or I've seen people do not appreciate feedback, but feedback actually makes your solution better and yourself a better designer. So what I feel is that take it with a pinch of salt, but you should encourage feedback. Fail fast and deliver early. We sometimes sit on our solution for a very long time to make it perfect, and then at the end client would say, no, I don't like it. And then it will be a huge escalation. You have wasted a lot of time, you have wasted a lot of energy, resources, and I'm not able to get desired output. So you should try to deliver fast, get feedback early, fail, that's okay, and then deliver early. You will at the end will win with better marks. Next is sometimes we say that development team is not letting me work, or marketing is not letting me work, but at the end the entire project team has a same common goal, right? They all want to deliver the great project which could be successful in the market. Otherwise all our appraisals will be depending on this. So we should actually be more collaborative. We should empathize with the other team members, what their needs are, what will be success for them, and then we should work as a team. And the last one, again the similar thing, um, consumers of design. So we design, and who consume? The development team and the marketing team. So they are our users too. How we are documenting, right? It is very important whether they are able to understand it or not. Are we giving enough demo? Are we able to explain them well? If they have any feedback, are we able to accommodate that? Sometimes we will not have time. They are coming back with feedback late, but then we have to evaluate what is best for the project, right? And then we should take decisions accordingly. So these are the few things which I have seen teams struggling. And if we learn this fast, would be good for the projects and for ourselves. So these are the few learnings I have, and that was it. So enough of talking from my side. I would request all of you to let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Prachi. It was a nice talk.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's nice way to tell the students how to prepare themselves for the future. So we have two questions here. One is from Nikhilesh Tripathi. Is asking, from an organization's perspective, what do they expect from us as a fresh graduate? The next question is from Shravan Tiwari. He says, while doing user research, how can we remove our biases? And after user research, how we ensure that our research insights go into the product?
So first one, as freshers, what company expect? So we understand that when you are coming from the college, you have a lot of energy. you have you are at the peak of your creativity, and we try to give you such assignments where you could demonstrate that. At the same time, we understand that you might not have any experience interacting with the customers, and you may not have worked with a different teams environment. So everybody try to accommodate. That is fine. We do not expect that kind of expertise from the freshers. But what we expect is that, first of all, the ability for showing commitment in the sense, normally what happens is that people like me, um, we might have our own personal challenges. I have to look after my family, and then at many times when we have to work little extra hours for our family, for our projects, for the delivery, maybe the time is slipping out. We expect the freshers to pitch in more. So that is one thing which we expect. And second thing is that they should be very enthusiastic about the project, about the learning. If they are open to learn from other colleagues, we are very, very happy. So we understand your strengths and the areas where you do not have experience. So that is where we also encourage them to organize or participate in brainstorming sessions, so that they learn how to run those workshops. Those kind of opportunities we try to give to the freshers, and also the research projects we give to them. And the second question was regarding the user research, how to kill our biases. First of all, you have to get into the user's shoe, right? So, how do you kill your biases? Are that when you sit actually with them and start observing them first, that what are their challenges, what are their needs. There are a lot of processes already defined. You can read about it, and then you will understand that you are not them. So once I was designing for a slum, I did all the designing, and then I wanted to take some pictures, and then I went to the slum. And then when I went there, I started interacting. I realized that the solution was not working, and I was able to empathize with them that this is what my perspective is, but I am not a slum dweller. I will never have these kind of challenges, so I could not design. So I have to empathize with them, sit with them, be with them, have tea or coffee, spend 2 or 3 days minimum, and then start questioning, maybe build some relation, some empathy, and connect with them, and maybe include them in the process, that what works, how they solve these problems. So for me, I ask a lot of questions from the users, that how do you solve your problem, and I go to many people, so I will get a lot of ideas that how they solve this problem, because I'm not them, but I'll try to empathize with them. So that is how you can manage your biases. But biases are more when you are not on the field. So try to be on the field, or at least gather as much information about the user, so that you do not have biases. And how do you get it implemented? If you have spent so many dollars doing research, I would say that companies are interested in using that research work in the projects. Again, I mean, it really depends which company you're working on. You might work on service company, and the attitude will be very different than the product company or the startups. So in startups, you might be the only person doing everything, starting from research, designing, and so on. In product companies, you will have dedicated researchers working with you if you are a designer. And even if you are a researcher, then also you will get a lot of mentoring. People will be there to help you understand the processes, and any challenges which you have, they will try to resolve it for you. So that, and in service company, it really depends. Service companies, like you have a proposal to make, and then whoever gives the best solution in least price get the tender. And a lot of time people try to over optimize, and then you end up struggling a bit. You might not be able to do proper research, or may not do the research at all. So in Infosys, the pattern which I saw, we used to do either user research or testing, so that we have the validation. So either you start with enough insights and then close the project, or you do based on your assumptions and then later on validate it and do the iterations. So this is how you will cut the price for that time which you would spend for user testing or user study. So there are different ways companies deal with it depending on the nature of the company. Hope I answered the question.
Then you have two more questions.
Yes.
Can you please explain what is the meaning of pattern library?
Okay. So basically, let's say, if I'm working in Infosys and I'm working for a project, let's say for Boeing, then Boeing has its own marketing guidelines, branding guidelines. Sorry. So what kind of logo, what colors, what color palette I should use. So I will get it from Boeing, and then they will be having a pattern library in the sense like if you have a calendar to add in some area, then what should be the calendar looks like. So that what they are trying to do is that they want to create a harmonious solution. A user is using, let's say, 10 different applications, so if there is one interaction which is common, it should be same across. So they would create their pattern library and we will use that in designing. Company like product company Honeywell or Philips, they have their own pattern library. We call it DLS, design language system. And so these patterns, right? So let's say, if I have to add a patient detail, right? So in all the projects the patient details are same. You have a age, you have a name, patient ID, age, etc., etc. So you don't have to recreate every time. You have a pattern library from which you will just add it there. So it's easy for you. You will not reinvent the wheel. You will reuse what is done and agreed upon and also approved by FD and other guidelines which are in place. And it's also for users that they will have a seamless experience across. So that is what we have as.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question, Prachi, and then you have thank you, ma'ams. So,
Okay. So is this the last question?
yeah, how does user research takes a toll due to the current COVID situation? What changes and suggestions do you suggest to get a good user research output in this current situation?
Yeah, so it's a good question because every company is now struggling with it. We have, I mean, there are a lot of interactive tools now coming up and becoming very popular. We use Miro in our organization. So it's a collaborative tool. And if you want to do brainstorming or if you want to do user research, again, which user you are using, doing this user research with. So if they are comfortable with that platform, if you are very frequently interacting with them to validate and all, Miro works fine. It has a board and it has a lot of tools which you can drag and drop, and you can have things. Again, you can have virtual calls, virtual video calls with them to ask, but at the end, it is having its own constraints. You cannot do everything like that. There are a lot of non-verbal clues which you get when you are doing user research, which you would not probably get in this mode. So the challenges are there, and how much best you can do through these collaborative tools, you can do it. So Envision is another. You can use freehand tool of Envision, Miro board, Jamboard is also there from Google. So you can collaborate for, at least for ideation, it works fine. But for user research, it might not be ideal case if you do not know your users well already.
Okay, so that brings us to an end to this session, and yeah, thank you so much, Prachi. It
Thank you
was
so much, Sapagi sir, for the
really
opportunity.
nice of you of for taking out time for this. You are, in fact, the first female speakers.
Yes, I was thinking of adding a slide on the female colleagues of mine because we have our own share of challenges and
I know, I know. I
uh,
was talking to some of your classmates the other day. In fact, Paridhi and Manjiri, both of them are going to join in
oh,
uh,
very good.
within one of these days. So, yeah.
yeah, so to the students, feel free to contact me for anything. And if I can help you, I'll be very happy. So I'm here. Just a ping or call away. You can take my details from Mrityunjay, my email ID and phone number. He has it. And please feel free.
It's great. So thank you once again, Prachi. It was really nice listening to you. And for the students, I'm sure you've benefited. Nitunjay, you have to say anything?
Yeah, so it was a wonderful talk for me as well. So I guess a few of the questions were really good. And I think हमारे time पे होता तो we would have also learned so many things from our seniors. So that's a good thing for all the students at this point of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I created actually a repository of resources also for students. So I'll share with you, Mrityunjay, and maybe you can share it with them. So maybe, some templates, some
Yeah,
tools, some talks, some videos that can be helpful to the.
yeah, sure, sure,
No, that's going to be really useful.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Hello. Take care. Bye. Stay safe, all of you.
You too, sir.
Bye bye.